So, I went through my charts. You didn't pass your test today, okay?
Pass it.
This is what my computer algorithms tell me, okay?
What does this mean?
It means probable deception indicated, meaning that there's indications that you've not been truthful with us, okay?
This is David Haggard, and he just failed a polygraph test while being a suspect in the disappearance of his half-sister, Jamie Haggard.
You know, if you're caught in a lie, you're caught in a lie. You can't backtrack from that way of lie. They're gonna suspect you.
They suspect me already. My dad does.
Well,
So
I don't know the dynamics there in that family. Sounds like you got some issues.
Even though both detectives and his family suspected David, he kept giving different stories to deny any involvement.
I haven't done anything to my sister. I don't know where she's at. If I did, I would tell you. Bottom line. My life is pretty f***ed up, and that's why I didn't want to take this test to begin with. But other than that, I wouldn't hurt my sister. I'm not even gonna go through this, man. I have nothing to do with my sister. Nothing to do with her disappearing whatsoever, man. I love her to death.
However, detectives would soon find out if David was a pathological liar or a smart suspect who could be nearly impossible to catch. Jamie Haggard, a 27-year-old mother of twins, disappeared on June 9th, 2016. It had been a month, and there was no new information on her whereabouts. And it was becoming quite grim with the realization that the missing case might just turn into something more sinister. To find answers, Jamie's half-brother and the person you just saw in the clip, 48-year-old David Haggard, was brought in for a polygraph test, and it didn't go well. But that's not all. Behind that fake demeanor actually lies a pathological liar and a disgusting individual. This whole story started with Jamie's disappearance in June. At the time, Jamie was living with David and her boyfriend, Jason. On the morning of June 9th, 2016, when David returned home after spending the night outside, Jamie was gone. But he wasn't worried as their sister, Stephanie Haggard, had received a text message from Jamie the night before. In short, Jamie told Stephanie that her life was getting messed up and she needed some space to heal herself. This made sense at the moment. However, what made the police suspicious is that Jamie and Stephanie were not on good terms. And that message was something which Jamie would have never sent to Stephanie. Obviously, these were just some suspicions, but slowly days were passing by without any information on Jamie. So police wanted to track down the people who were closest to Jamie. And yes, the first person that automatically became a suspect was Jamie's boyfriend, Jason. However, Jason was already behind bars for some unrelated drug incident during the time of her disappearance. So the only person that was left for the police to focus on was Jamie's half-brother, David Haggard. David was brought in for an interview after he gave the polygraph test. The results were negative, and as such, the suspicions on him grew thicker.
Obviously, the police are out here digging into this thing. We're doing everything we can to get your sister found. You haven't conclusively passed your test. That's a concern to us.
That was a concern of mine to begin with, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and why was it such a big concern to you?
So I told you I already felt guilty. I carry the guilt. It's dreaming that I'm guilty, whatever happened to her is my fault and whatnot. So,
Okay. Well, these questions, that's specifically why I didn't ask you, are you responsible for her disappearance? Because you told me that you felt responsible for it. I didn't go that route, okay?
Yeah, but you also said that this
I asked very specific questions. Do you know where she's currently located? Have you lied to the police regarding her disappearance?
Right.
Well, that's not what your body's telling us. Your body's telling us something completely different, okay? And so what we have to do is rely on what we're seeing here, what your body is providing to us. The mouth can say one thing, the body tells the truth, and that's the way that I look at this.
Right.
So I feel very comfortably that there's more to the story. There's something that you're concerned about that you're not disclosing at this point. And we're here to try to get this thing resolved, obviously. Okay, you're down here for a reason. There's been some suspicious things that have gone on, since her disappearance. I think that there's a lot more to it that you're holding back on at this point, but this isn't the time to do that. This is the time to deal with it. Let's get your sister back. Let's move forward with this investigation.
Let's bring her home, you know?
According to the polygraph test, David failed to answer the most simple questions honestly. However, just with a polygraph test, it was not possible to put David under arrest. At this point, he's just in an interview and not an interrogation. So even though he seems like a suspect, the detectives cannot put him under too much pressure to get answers.
Like I said, if I was given a test about Jamie's disappearance, having no involvement whatsoever, I would completely pass the test.
You don't even know Jamie, so you would have passed. Just like the Green River Killer guy. They asked him the wrong questions or some shit. Just because they didn't know any of the victims. That's why he passed his first test.
Don't believe what you see in the paper about the Green River.
I'm not going to go through this with you guys. I didn't do anything to my sister. I haven't done anything to my sister. I don't know where she's at. If I did, I would tell you. Bottom line. My life is pretty fucked up, and that's why I didn't want to take this test to begin with. But other than that, I wouldn't hurt my sister. I wouldn't hurt her. I wouldn't hurt her or my fucking children. You can ask any of my family history. I got a lot of family. You can ask them all about me.
Plenty of men tell me that they wouldn't hurt somebody and they didn't, but they ended up being involved in disposing of a body.
I didn't dispose no bodies either, sir. I'm not that way.
What were you doing burning all that stuff out in your yard for the last couple of weeks?
We've been burning freaking...
I'm not accusing you. Just tell me what it was. What were you burning?
The mulch and shit. There's all kinds of shit around the property. We've been burning trash, all kinds of crap. There's all kinds of crap in that house. We've been trying to... Me and Carly have been trying to get our leg up. So we're just trying to... Jason, we thought we were going to be gone. We thought Jason was going to be gone for a minute. So we're going to freaking try to get in with the owner. That was it.
Yeah. And what was reburied in the hole? Anything? Garbage? Anything?
There's garbage. There's all kinds of shit. And that whole property can be buried. There's axles. There's all kinds of shit in the property. You had that stupid ass pump. Not pump, but a pond that he's going to put in. It was dumb.
Yeah.
You know? Nobody wants a fucking pond. And it didn't just get buried or covered up in one night. It's fucking over a duration of time.
Okay.
A bunch of garbage burned in that hole. It's a bunch of wood. Yeah.
When detectives checked the house where David and Jamie used to live, they found numerous holes in the yard, out of which some were filled up again. So the police started having this suspicion that Jamie, who was supposedly missing, might actually be a victim of murder. So even though it is an interview, the detectives try to bring forward some indirect warnings.
If she's found, and if she's found fairly quickly, and she's deceased, the medical examiner will absolutely be able to tell us how she died. Still, whether it was an overdose or violence or whatever, whether she's found in your backyard or whether she's found buried out in Big Fin Hill Park or in Little Lake Washington, if she's found quickly, we'll be able to say it. And I'll say it, man, her lifestyle absolutely leads to the suspicion that she fucking OD'd and people freaked out and didn't know what to do. And yes, that can be family members. Yes, that can cause a failure of a polygraph or a non-passing of a polygraph rather. Yeah, but I don't know I don't know her, but I know men in your position that have been under suspicion due to circumstances, and they've denied, and then, but in the end, the truth comes out, one way or the other. And
I haven't done anything, so...
let's just face the legal side of this thing. What's the crime of disposing of a woman that ODs?
I have no idea.
It's fucking gross misdemeanors.
I have no idea, sir.
So I'm telling you that because I don't want you or anybody else overly freaked out about an OD death and guys panicked and got rid of the body. Because it's a fucking gross misdemeanor at worst, if anybody even gets charged. So I just want to make sure that's clear. We're not investigating some felony crime if in fact she just died through her lifestyle, OD'd, she's got a history of that clearly.
You guys keep saying she's dead. You guys know something that I don't know? Like, I don't even know that she's dead.
Well, we do know a lot of things about her behaviors and issues that lead us to believe that she's no longer with us. I hope the hell she calls her mother right now. Says, Mom, I have been out. I've been in rehab. Of course, that's not true either, because she's well past the blackout periods of being rehab. So in my gut, I believe that she's dead, either by someone else's hand or she's an OD. And now it's a recovery. In fact, that's why we're all out at your house today. You know, we're not convinced she's out there. We're sure as hell are going to check it. We're going to be checking it with heavy equipment. We're going to be doing it with the cadaver dogs. We're going to be covering that base today, 100%. And if she is found out there, somebody's got some explaining to do.
Whether Jamie is dead or not is a mystery right now. But as David's answers are not satisfactory to the detectives, they're trying to come at him from different angles and observe his reactions. As we saw just now, the detectives try and make David feel like they're sympathizing with him so that he thinks he's not being misunderstood. By doing so, they hope that David will let down his guard. The person in question is David's sister, so the emotional way might just be the right way to bring out the truth. But will it be enough?
Dave, for example, 6 months, let's say her body is found 6 months from now, and the medical examiner can't determine her cause of death right away. They ultimately will, but... And then 6 months from now, you say, okay, well, back in July, I was scared to admit that she died of an OD. It's going to be very tough to prove it was an OD at that point. If she died from some reason, or, you know, any other cause that happened around that home and somebody panicked and got rid of her, then put it out there. Let's get her back home, let the medical examiner look at her.
I have nothing to do with any disappearance or anything that has happened to my sister. None.
Then you should have passed this polygraph.
I should have passed this.
Guilty knowledge, or excuse me, guilty feelings about lifestyles doesn't affect polygraph. It's a black and white issue.
No, it isn't. Bullshit.
Just, hey, it is, man. We've been doing this for years. Just what was a specific question?
You'd be able to bring it in the court of law if it was. No, it's not. I'm not even going to go through this, man. I have nothing to do with my sister. Nothing to do with her disappearing whatsoever, man. I love her to death.
Where the fuck is she?
I don't know where she's at. I don't know where she's at. I don't know what the last 6 months of lifestyle she's taking on with all these brown people. I don't know the Mexicans that she's been hanging out with. I don't know any of that shit. The last 2 months, I fucking cut her off pretty much.
Is her purse at your house?
No.
Is her phone at your house?
No. No, the cops know that I'm on her voicemail because I had her phone when the cops to call the cops on Jason when they arrested Jason. The big officer who was there today, he even knows. He told my dad that. You know, he had her phone. I was walking around with her phone for like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. She had no voicemail, so I put one on there for me. I mean, on there for her.
David is losing his patience very fast. It looks like he's trying to protect himself, but there's no way that the detectives can prove that he's lying. And moreover, as this is not an interrogation, the detectives have to calmly work it out. So the only possible step that they can take right now is to make it clear to David that if he's lying, he will be caught. And to that, they have to start at the very basic level.
So, on the day she's missing, she has her own cell phone, right?
Yeah.
And you got your own individual cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So...
I didn't have a phone.
You don't have a phone at all?
I didn't have a phone at the time.
Well, why not?
I think my phone was broken or out of minutes or something. I mean, I had a phone, but it was just out of minutes.
Okay. So whether a phone's out of minutes or not, you know, it communicates with the cell towers all around.
Right.
To give us GPS coordinates and where things
right.
are. One of the things that we're doing today is we served a search warrants on a variety of phone companies, including your phone, including Jamie's phone, including some other people's phones. And to me, I'm a tech guy, so this is just the reason I say this thing's going to be done today and solved today is because we're going to know where she's at today. We're going to know who took her there, and we're going to find her dead or alive. And it's all going to come from technology. Her phones are going to tell us exactly, her phone records are going to tell us exactly where she moved. But most importantly, we're going to compare her phone's movements with the movements of everybody else's phones. And it's not going to be too difficult to see the path plotted on a Google Earth map. Which phones moved together between the 8th, 9th, and 10th of July?
Yeah. Well, my phone probably was at the house the whole time.
Well,
so
maybe that's the case.
Sorry, because I didn't have a phone. Yeah, it wasn't working, so I didn't carry it with me.
Yeah. And then secondarily, the phone doesn't just talk to its cell tower in the area. The phone talks to whoever's a Wi-Fi connection, right? The router at your house, the router at your neighbor's house maybe if it tries to connect, the router at Starbucks. So nowadays law enforcement has the advantage of just nailing down the position of phones way better than we did a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So those paths are going to tell us a lot about her and who was with her. And I don't have those records yet. I voted when we were having a meeting yesterday about this case, I voted to hold off on hitting your house with a search warrant until we had those records. But, you know, resources are resources and we needed to do it today.
That's fine.
We had the backhoe today, we were ready to do it today. So, since I can only assume you're not being completely honest about things because of the polygraph that you did not pass. It's not personal, but I believe you're holding something back. I know you're holding something back. And these things are all going to come out later, no matter what you say today.
The detective has calmly laid it all out in front of David. But David is not about to break so easily. He's extremely confident even after failing the polygraph test, so it's quite obvious that some simple warnings won't affect him much. But the question is, for how long? And the even bigger question is if he's really behind the disappearance, or is he behind a murder?
If you're not being honest with us right now, you're putting yourself in a hole because I'm afraid later on you're going to have to backtrack and kind of say, well, okay, this is really the truth a month or two or a week or a year from now, and it's going to be unbelievable. You know, if you're caught in a lie, you're caught in a lie. You can't backtrack from that later on.
I came home. When I got home, there was a fire outside the cider glass door. It was put out. It wasn't totally put out. It was smoke on it. I seen it. That raised suspicion to me. I didn't know what that was about. I've been thinking about that ever since this investigation started taking off. What it was about. Other than that, I don't know anything else.
Why is that relevant? Why do you think that's relevant?
Because it was just you guys keep asking about that backyard and about why we buried what we buried and burned there. You know, it's just weird. I don't know. It just seems like something I should say to you.
Well, most guys would have a standard burn pile, right?
Yeah,
You're burning
you're not going to burn next to the house.
burn it.
Yeah, you're not going to burn next to the house.
So are you saying this is something different?
Yeah, I just said it was weird. It was just weird. I was totally flabbergasted. It was in the hole that we had for the septic that's been messed up there. So we had dug out a trench line. That's how that whole yard got tore up to begin with, because the septic was fucked up.
Septic or sewer?
Sewer.
Yeah.
Sewer was fucked up. Piping was fucked up. So we got Joe to come in with a little mini, and we had excavated a little line, you know, and stuff, and fixed the piping and whatever. But there were still issues with the draining or something, and so they had a little hole. It was outside the window, you know, the slider there. That was, and then the pond was over there. So I don't know what he was doing. That was me and Jason still, you know, he had this pond dug, and then he's saying something about the septic was messed up or whatever. But when I got there, like I said, it was weird. Carly showed up right after me, and I even said something to her, you know, like, what's she burning right next to the house for? You know, just kind of pissed me off, you know. Didn't think anything of it, though.
Whose fire was it?
I thought it was Jamie's. I thought Jamie lit the fire.
What day was that?
That day.
The night?
Yeah, the day.
The last time you saw her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you confront her on it? Or did you not see her after that?
No, I didn't see her. She wasn't there.
There have been no loopholes in David's statements. He's been acting like any innocent person would in this scenario. However, the thing that still bothers the detectives is the polygraph test. The questions in the test were rather simple. Do you know where Jamie is? Or along with straightforward questions. Why would David fail the test if he was being honest? So the detective needs to continuously keep David on track, and no matter how, make him feel at ease so that he provides the information they're looking for.
Well, you didn't pass the test for some reason. You're the only one that knows that. And I guess I can't emphasize enough that this isn't going to end, obviously. This isn't going to go away.
I understand it's not going to go away, sir.
you know, until the time that she calls her mother, which at this point, I think we're done with that. We're in a recovery phase. You know, the judge authorized a search warrant for a body and evidence of murder or death. You know, so until it's proven differently, it's murder, right? If it proves that she OD'd like so many women and young men have been ODing lately around Seattle, then so be it. Jesus, man. Last year we found 2 people in suitcases because their friends panicked, didn't know what the fuck to do with bodies, and folded these chicks in both cases. Folded the chicks up in suitcases and dumped them. One in SeaTac, or one in SeaTac, one in fucking Kent. It's like, Jesus Christ, just call and say, she got too high, and you know what I'm saying? Just deal with it. You don't sweep it under a rug. You don't sweep a loved one's body under the rug and pretend like she just vanished, because we're going to prove whether she just vanished on her own or not. There's a certain point where people are going to understand that those with knowledge of Jamie's disappearance, it's sort of natural for them to deny it and freak out for a while. But after a certain point, it goes from a natural denial to a kind of an evil intent, or trying to protect themselves because of allegations of crime. Well, if, for example, David, you tell me right now that I know where she's at, and you go and recover her today, the things that we would be telling her family, most importantly her mother and father, would be that in the end, Dave helped solve this case. He was scared, he freaked out, but Dave helped solve the case. Compare that to 3 months from now when we find what's left of her remains, and the question remains in the air for her mother and father. I mean, this is family dynamics here. They're going to fucking respect you. And so it's almost like, get out in front of this thing.
They fucking suspect me already. My dad does.
Well,
So
I don't know the dynamics there in that family. It sounds like you got some issues with your
I was
father.
closer to any of the kids than he ever was.
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't do shit.
So whether there's respect there or not, they have a right as parents.
Yeah, they
You
do.
know where their daughter
Yeah,
is.
they do. We all have a right. I'd like to know too.
Yeah, so you know something. You didn't pass your polygraph that every one of us in this room should have passed if we truly didn't know. Doesn't matter that you're related to it. Doesn't matter that you're guilty about her lifestyle. Those questions were so specific. And that's why I love polygraph tests regarding cases like this, is because they're nothing but specific. Jason wants to ask me in a pre-employment polygraph whether I stole something when I was a kid. I don't really care if he asks me that, because I don't think that's going to be accurate and valid, in my opinion. And when he asked me, did I dispose of Jamie's body, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to pass that test.
No, he didn't want to take the poly test the first time I came here because it was under meth. I mean, it's all kinds of dynamics in there. I'm telling you right now, I don't know where my sister is. If I did, I would tell you. I would tell you. If she OD'd in front of me, I would tell you. I don't know. I don't know.
Unfortunately, they get no answers. One might think at this point, David might be the criminal. Well, for starters, let's focus on that polygraph test and unveil the first big clue. Before David gave the polygraph test, he texted one of his friends. David said that he would die out of fear of giving the polygraph test. And when his friend responded, "You would be fine as you don't have anything to do with Jamie missing," David replied with, "I'm not going to pass the test." Now, why was he so sure about failing? Did it really have to do with him being under the influence of meth, or was he just a very good liar?
Did you get into a fight with her on the last time you saw her?
The day before we were fighting.
Did it turn physical?
No, not any more than no.
Well, what does that mean?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was physical at first, but I mean, I was just getting to the truth of the matter. I mean, I was just on top of her, but it was nothing. There was no violence or anything. The cops came there.
I know that.
And the cops checked her out, and I was cleared. I didn't do anything to her.
24 hours later, though.
24 hours later, she wasn't at home.
Right.
She was gone all night. She was gone all night.
I guess we'll find that out when we get the phone records today.
Yeah, well, you will. You'll find that out. She's gone all night. She can come in until the next morning.
So a couple things are obviously going to be dealt with. And here's, I'll just tell you our job. When I see your phone records and I see her phone records, I suspect that I'm going to see some travel together. I think there's a good chance of that. I think it's going to prove that you're not telling the truth right by yourself, and then we're going to have to do this all over again. I'm a little late to this case to know why the ain't in your truck and completely cleaning your truck out. So when we have the Washington State Crime Lab out searching your truck in about an hour, believe me, I've had cases where people have hosed their truck out, scrubbed with, God, they've used stone masonry cleaner in their truck, and this crime lab still found blood. Because guys don't get where they should really clean. So all these things are happening today because we can't figure out what to do with you. So prove them right or prove them wrong. That's our job, isn't it? That's what you pay us for. And by God, we're going to do it on this case. I don't care what her lifestyle is like. Nobody has a right to be disposed of improperly or killed in a fight and then dumped up in Eastern Monroe or wherever the she's at.
Essentially, there have been a few things that made the police suspect David. First of all is the polygraph test. Secondly, the messages with his friend. And finally, his truck that he cleaned after the disappearance.
I'm not a lawyer or charge me or something. I haven't done anything wrong. You can look at my phone records. You can check my truck.
Is it going to clear you?
Yeah.
We're doing that too, Dave. Don't forget. Our job is to clear people. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're certainly not going to wrangle into somebody in a crime.
Whatever.
Where are you, a witness or a suspect?
Suspect in your eyes.
Well, you're something in our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're not under arrest, right?
I haven't done anything to my sister.
Do you understand you're not under arrest?
I'm a lawyer.
Okay. Well, let's get out of here then. I hope you're right, Dave. I wasn't there.
It can be seen that David constantly asks for a lawyer, but the detectives know that if he gets a lawyer at this point, the truth would be shrouded in mystery. Even though they must abide by the rules, they decide to approach him again in a friendly way, trying to make him feel that they're on his team. And soon, the investigation shifts towards uncovering new names, Scott and Natasha, two more of their friends who became part of the conversation.
What's the story about rolling her sister up or something?
Well, yeah, that was when he first started coming back around. You know, like he said he was arrested. You know, we checked that not to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like just weird shit. Like he started coming around like the day before Jason got out, and then talked. You know, I mean,
James already gone, right?
Yeah, James been gone, and he starts talking like he says that he'd been in contact. The chief called him, which we don't think is true. You know, we're like, you know, why would she call him? And it just doesn't seem. It doesn't add up. But I know Jamie was definitely afraid of him when he came in and got his cut, and he kept asking for his cut, and he kept asking for his boots.
Cut of cash or cut of
his leather, his biker. Yeah. He had his cut there. He needed his cut.
David literally admits that he believes Scott might be involved in his sister's disappearance, but he never confronted him about it. This raises a lot of suspicion. Why would David, who claims to be a caring brother, not try to uncover the full truth by directly confronting Scott?
I suspect foul play, I'd go to Scott. I don't know anything else. Okay. No, I told you the story about Scott.
Well,
Scott needs to be checked.
You're suspicious of Scott.
Yeah,
is
really.
Is there a particular reason?
Because he's like admitted that he's done something to her.
Tell me that story again. Now, driving in the back seat of my car is a little difficult.
He said when Jason came home out of jail, he was with Scott. Scott picked him up. They went and did some brown together. Natasha is a girl that just got out of feds. She's in an Oxford house or something in Seattle, I guess. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in Seattle. They had picked her up too, I guess. Jason says that it was him, Natasha, and Scott in his truck. And Jason said, what the f*** going on in my house? Does Jason come home? He's like tripping out, like, you know, what's all this stuff? You know, Jamie's missing supposedly. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Scott says, shut up, dude. You're going to get me in trouble. Don't worry about it. She's not at your house. She's been taken care of.
He says this specifically to
Specifically to Jason and Natasha.
And Jason told you about that.
Yes, yes. And he brought it up again yesterday.
And what was yesterday?
Yesterday he just said, dude, I think Scott did something with your sister, man.
Jason said that.
Yeah. He goes, honestly, I don't think you've done anything, Dave. I think I think Scott's done something with your sister, though. I know you're trying to be positive and optimistic, but I'm telling you, man, I think Scott done something with your sister.
Have you spoken to Scott yourself face to face?
Not about it, no.
Now the story has become much more complicated as David brings in another person to the story. However, the authenticity of his claims are as fragile as his personality. Jason, who could have been a suspect but was behind bars, and now Scott.
Jason and Jamie were in a fight, an argument. Jason was like, I can't handle this dog, you know, she's got to go. And I'm saying, well, I get her out, you know, and Scott's saying, I think it's only right that the, you know, family member takes care of it, or I'll take care of it, you know. And just these things, if I reflect back on our conversation, doesn't mean much at the time, because we're just everybody's hyped, you know, amped up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about it then, you know, like, what the hell were you talking about, dude? You know, like, the whole time the guy was talking like, you know, getting rid of her. And Jason says, he swears to God that he has a hatred towards women.
At this moment, David is directly pointing fingers at Scott and Jason. He, in his own way, is telling the detectives that they were behind this whole act. Now, this is a moment when the detectives get confused. They've been suspecting David throughout, but a suspect pointing fingers directly at someone else by their name is rather perplexing. Because if the person David named is cleared from the case, David will automatically become the one and only prime suspect, and he will have dug his own hole.
That night, he came over that night, got $60 from me, and supposedly got arrested.
That night meaning what?
The night that Jamie was no longer around.
Eighth
Disappeared. The 9th or whatever, yeah. The day Jason went to jail. The same day Jason went to jail, he supposedly went to jail.
According to himself.
For domestic violence, yeah. Against his ex.
He was a brothel?
Redmond, I guess.
I'm sorry. Does he have a wife and a boy? I saw some pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, he has a son and his ex-wife.
Was he sleeping with Jamie at any point?
Not that we know of.
Who's been sleeping with Jamie?
Don't know.
Hate to ask the question, but I gotta ask the question.
Don't know. Supposedly she wasn't even sleeping with Jason.
Have they been dating?
Yeah, supposedly they've been dating and she hadn't been giving reaction or whatever. That was one of the things we fought about that day, that the cops all came. Yeah, I suppose we had her tied up and shit because she was claiming that Jason came in, you know, that Jason took it from her that night. You know, she was just, I couldn't believe half the words that she was saying. You know, so I didn't take it, you know, all I know is that Jason was playing games and Jamie, all this brown, is all tends to brown when I chalk it up as. These guys are fucking, they don't care about anything but themselves, and it's all just this brown, you know, bullshit. Jason said he was going to quit work and he was going to come home, we're going to deal with this. Because I was telling my girlfriend, you know, he's fucking playing games, babe. I don't know who to believe. You know, Jamie, I tend to believe my sister because in the heat of the moment, when I fucking look her in the eye and I fucking drill her, you know, tell me what's going on here, James, I can trust and believe that my sister's telling me the truth. She points to him. Jason, it's all Jason. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, and I confronted Jason and he was going to come home and deal with it. But then you know, Jamie flipped the whole script around. Instead of me being pissed off at Jason and was going to deal with Jason, she claims that she's going to take a bunch of pills. You know, and that's when the whole picture came out. You know, I had her in the.
And then Jason's popped the night of the 9th, or the day of the 9th.
The interview goes on for some time, but the detectives find no confession or any new information regarding the disappearance of Jamie. So unfortunately, they have to keep their patience and focus on finding new evidence.
What I hope to do is, when we get your phone records, and we'll do our business with the records that we need to do, there'll come a time when I'm probably going to want to sit back down with you and go over the phone records with you, no matter how they look, whether they're damning looking or just typical phone records a guy would have when he's in his house. So I don't want us to end here as fucking enemies. I mean, it's your sister. We're going to work for you, is the way I look at it. Until we determine that, we're going against some person who killed her. Or if she died on her own, so be it. But until that's proven, we're all in the same boat. But if you put yourself in our position, you see exactly what we have to do. We have to clear the people around her from suspicion. And you're, unfortunately, very difficult to clear. Some people are easy. We've already cleared a few people just based on they were in gym. I mean, like him or not, Nolte's easy to clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a done deal. Even though he looks like a suspect, though, and I don't know, for a lot of other reasons.
Yeah, no, you tried to say the parole officer says he's a suspect, but I just don't see.
Well, it's the physics.
But I mean, it's just, like Jason keeps saying, it's almost like Scott thinks like he wanted him to do something, or I wanted him to do something.
Well, would
scary.
Would Scott have taken her on his own to be like, hey, dude, I took care of your problem for you?
Might as well have, or might have. I mean, that's what fucking Jason was. Now I'm thinking about our conversation which me and Jason had yesterday, and he's convinced that fucking Scott did something with her. I'm trying to be more of the positive, the will positive, and my sister's gonna call her mom up any minute, I want her to be gone, be her.
I do too, but we all hope that she does it, but we got to be realistic, and it's time to be realistic on this thing. It's been well over a month, and young women.
But David keeps on trying to put the blame on Scott, and he seems quite confident about it.
Did you do something with my sister?
No.
Do you feel comfortable doing that? If I put you on a wire, would you
no offense, I'm going to jam him up when I see him.
Well, if I put a wire on you and put you two together in a restaurant or a bar?
Yeah. I'm going to be jamming him up. Yeah, I will.
You're willing to go to that sort of
thing? Yeah.
Find out where your sister
is? Okay. And then Jason keeps saying that Scott keeps asking him, let's go fishing. And Jason doesn't understand why he keeps asking him that, because Jason doesn't fish.
Where does Scott fish?
You don't know, but he made references to taking somebody down the river road. He hasn't gone down the river road in a long time or some shit, and just, how stupid.
By River Road, do you think he's talking about Snohomish River Road, or?
I have no idea. He says, I haven't gone down the river road in a long time. I don't know. I have to say, I heard this guy say I thought it was full shit. And now I'm thinking if I've probably been stupid the whole time.
Your sister sell Scott pills,
They did brown together, I don't know if they...
It's quite obvious that the detectives will reach out to Scott to find answers. However, they just can't let their suspicions on David go away.
She either OD'd somewhere, most likely the house, somebody freaked out and tried to get rid of her, or somebody probably beat the fuck out of her and killed her. I doubt she was stabbed or shot. I'm going to guess that she was probably thumped, pummeled to death, massive head wound. And then obviously somebody had to get rid of her. Whether that happened at your house or not, I don't know. But the crime lab's going to figure that one out.
Yeah.
In the end, David, you're not passing the polygraph. The simplest polygraph we could design for a man like you in your position. One that you absolutely should pass if you... Just can you read those specific questions?
Poly, I don't care about, I don't want a lawyer, I don't want to talk about poly anymore.
Okay, well,
I don't care about that.
If you want to be done here, we can be
Yeah,
done.
I don't want to be done. I'll help you talk to Scott.
Okay, because we still need to team up on this. We're going to find your sister.
Right, yeah.
I want to be enemies with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the guy.
But you got to know where I'm thinking.
I'm not the
You got to know all the thoughts in my head. You
Yeah,
got to know
I'm not
every
the guy.
step that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You got to know every scenario that we're going to consider and rule in and rule out. And all, this is uncomfortable as fuck for you, I'm sure. You don't have to like us or whatever, but we're going to do it together. And the step of the polygraph was so important to us that that's why we kept wanting to do it with you. So let me end this with kind of a overall reaching statement. David, is there anything that you haven't told us yet that you think is significant in this case? That you know damn well is significant that you've chosen to keep to yourself?
Not that no, except for where's Scott and where's Chris?
The interview concluded with no apparent answers, and David was set free. The detectives now had a few names in their file, and they reached out to each of them. But all of them had an alibi and cleared out. Jason told the police that David had dug a huge hole in his campus, and he was suspicious he might have buried Jamie there. So the police went back to David's house and dug down each and every hole, but unfortunately, they found nothing. The police then took David's phone, truck, and his Xbox as pieces of evidence. Later, police discovered that David's statement that Jamie was scared of Jason was false. In contradiction, it was Jamie who was scared of David. The police came to know about this when they spoke with Jason. He said that Jamie kept on telling him that she's afraid of being killed by David. Also, David's earlier roommate told the police that David was getting frustrated with Jamie. David said that she was causing too much trouble and he should just kill her. Later, an uncanny turn came about in the story when the police heard the news of a psychic named Nicole. She had been telling the police that Jamie's spirit had been paying her visits and had told her that she wants her body to be found. It probably looked like a hoax to the police, but as they had no other information, they noted down Nicole's statements. According to her, Jamie's body was hidden somewhere over a ravine near a river next to 2 trees. But unfortunately, it really did turn out to be a hoax. But in May 2018, a roadside cleaning crew discovered a suitcase lying off the shoulder of State Route 522 in Snohomish County. When they checked the suitcase, they found partially burnt and dismembered remains of a person. The remains were then checked by a forensic team, and they confirmed that it was Jamie Haggard. The case finally turned into a cold-blooded murder story. Now, the cell phone records from around the area had also come through, and when the police checked them, they finally found the damning evidence to put an end to the case.
It wasn't anything recent that just stuck out that really solved the case. It was accumulation of everything in this entire investigation, and the detective finally felt like there was enough.
David's GPS location showed that he was at the location where the suitcase was found. It even matched the timeline of when Jamie went missing. So, it was conclusive proof that everything that David had told the detectives in the interview was nothing but a bunch of lies. It was borderline impressive just how David managed to make people believe him, making him an expert liar.
I'm Greg Copeland. For 3 years, friends and family have been searching for Jamie Haggard. Today, King County detectives arrested the person they think is her killer, her half-brother.
Monique, believe it or not, detectives say the suspect started not 1 but 2 fires just so that he could cover up his own sister's murder. And it looks like he'll be in jail much longer now that he has been charged with killing her.
But no matter the extent of his lies, David was finally arrested in October 2019. He was found guilty of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
You might not think that this is fair, but it's not fair for Maddie and Dilly either. They miss their mom. They don't even remember the things I remember. It's not fair that my kids don't get to grow up with their Aunt Jamie or their Uncle Davey. It's not fair. These choices tore our whole family apart.
Now for the reason for the murder. It was speculated that just the night before the disappearance, Jamie and David got into a big fight regarding their staying arrangements. Jamie apparently wanted David to move out of the house, which enraged David, and things escalated, leading to this horrific and disturbing murder. 15 years seemed a lot less considering David killed his sister, dismembered her, burned her, put her remains in a suitcase, and threw it away. However, they lacked concrete evidence to prove that it was all done by David. Although it seems quite obvious to us that he was behind the whole act, first-hand evidence is needed in the court. So, unfortunate as it seems, David Haggard received a punishment that was much less than he actually deserved. So, what are your thoughts on this case? Was the sentence fair enough? Do you believe that David killed her over living arrangements, or was there something else? Feel free to share your opinions. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you have any cases in mind that you want us to cover, feel free to leave your suggestions in the comments section. Subscribe to Real Crime Psychology to uncover more cases like these. Until then, stay safe.